Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to QuickBooks Labs panel show. The new panel show concept is designed still to be the place to learn all about the world of QuickBooks and other accounting software, but also now with the added extra for the opportunities for some of the great minds of the industry to talk to our audience about what's going on and what views they have to share. We still aim to go live on the first week of each month, at which point we hang around these microphones to talk all about the latest news, tips and tricks of QuickBooks and the world of accountancy. And oh boy, do we have some stuff to talk about. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Patrick, a chartered accountant, owner of an accounting firm called Bofix, a QB certified trainer with a fancy no logo and that QuickBooks chap on YouTube. And join me as back again, finally, his name, it's Ash, the one and only. How's it going, Ash?
Great, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, so my name's Ash Beatson, bookkeeper / accountant, sort of, QuickBooks trainer, app developer, part-time muso. What else is there? I can't think of anything else, but that'll do for now.
You're a musician as well. You play in a band. That's it. Yeah. And Charlie, welcome back. How's it been for you? And give everyone a little bit of a context of who you are and where you're from.
Well, I feel so. By the way, can you hear me better now? I had some problems with my mic.
It's not great, but we'll roll with it.
Okay, I'll shout. But I feel very inadequate after hearing all of Ash's achievements with his, all the rest of it. But yeah, Charlie Khan. I'm an accountant based in West London. Long time QuickBooks user, and yeah, that's me. No, excellent. I'm not a musician. Not any of these other exciting things. I'm not an app developer either.
Yet there's still time. Maybe.
Yes, yeah, maybe soon.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we were hoping to have Johann here direct from Intuit themselves. He had actually had an opportunity to go into their headquarters. So from what we can tell, and we're just going by rumors at the moment, they actually sneaked past a few of the guards. He got himself into HQ itself, but unfortunately, by the sounds of it, he's not been able to get out of HQ. So yeah, maybe that was the last time we ever see Johann going forward. Again, we have a cracker in store for you, but first of all, let's figure out how this all works. First of all, we're live to the world at our regular time of 4:30 UK, which we think is 10:30 US Central Time, but who knows in this case. So if you listen to us back at a later time, then why not think about joining us live? That way you can get involved with the show and ask us anything using the chat box. Just like we've got Paul Whitehouse sat there saying, hi guys. And I'm sure he's going to keep us honest and he'll be asking us questions going forward. Furthermore, we are live on the podcast services around the globe, so feel free to subscribe on the podcasting service of your choice. Our agenda for today's show is as follows. We've got a big VAT update and one I know everyone is very excited about. We've been teased about something happening on the 12th of September. Wonder what that one relates to. Intuits have got a bit of an update, including their Investor Day has been announced and they've got a new logo ready to go. QuickBooks and Ignition are starting to work together, so that could be a little history or a little behind the scenes of what's going to happen for us later down the line. Ash has got a very interesting take on Xero's App Store policy for small developers, and then we've got a couple of other ones to get in if we have time. So looking forward to that, especially the little Xero app. I feel like we've got a few things we need to get off our chest. So first and foremost, let's get involved in the VAT updates. I'm not sure who knows about these updates yet, but let's just bring them in so we're all up to scratch, all on the same page, and then we can start discussing what we think to them. But effectively, VAT has just got a lot better for us as developers. Can you all see the screen all right? Is it coming through? I've kind of lost that one. Yeah, coming through all right? Nice one. All right, okay. So there's been two major updates to the VAT side that means that people who prepare VAT returns on a regular basis are rejoicing. The first one is when it comes to filing that VAT return, now either using MTD or Marcus filed. Historically, when it came to putting that file or filing that return, then the dates were always a little bit confused and a little bit odd when it came to when it was posting the journals. So as an example here, we've got 1st of the 10th, 2021 to the 31st of 12th, 2021. If I was going to file this return today, then the VAT journal would have been today, which made it really, really difficult for us to do reconciliations and everything like that comes in between. But thankfully, and as a rejoice, in fact, I can even put a little applause there. We have the ability now to be able to, or it's done automatically, that when we file the VAT return via MTD or Marcus filed, the date is going to be the end date that's there. I think I can show this an example. I think if I go to my search bar, look at my last VAT one. No, poor me. I've not not set this up properly. But trust me, when that gets
prepare return, it might show it actually.
It will do, but I've got to keep that open for 1 second, so we'll see it at the end. But the good news is that end date now comes into there. Now we've got another update as well, and that's all to do with the download audit report. Now I don't know about you guys, but the audit report on principle on paper is a fantastic idea. The idea that we can go in, look at the audit report. That's the sort of item that you want to be sending to your clients. You send it over to them, and it includes everything. It's got a nice little logo on here. It was VAT return details. It's telling me about tax liability report, VAT 100 report. It was telling me VAT detailed, exceptions, and no VAT transaction. So in reality, that was a report that was really, really, really powerful. Now, historically, though, the problem was that report never showed exceptions on the VAT 100. So you could tell your client, in my example here of 17725, but the report itself could say something completely different because it wasn't reflecting exception reports. Not now. Now that's been updated, and now finally that VAT audit report now shows not only what the VAT 100 report should be, but what it is after exceptions as well. So 2 major updates. I am now going to go and prepare that return because I've already gone through, and you see here exceptions. It would have gone in and it would have said prior to this, it would have gone down this column here. So you would have had £213.12, not the, or whatever the figure would have been. So, and not the £413.12 that would have showed there. So you were going to be telling your client a different figure to actually what they would have gone and marked. But now if I mark this as filed, the date that we want to expect to see on our journal entry, as you can see, is the 31st of the 12th. Oh, going on the wrong one. Is the 31st of the 12th, 2021. So that's going to make our lives so much easier with reconciling. Ash, what do you think to this update? Seems small, but it's a bit of a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice. I've got to be honest. I never found it a huge issue personally, but I know everyone else was shouting about it. I quite often when I used to file the VAT return, I would just change the date as soon as the journal went through. So I didn't find it a huge biggie, but a lot of people don't want to do that. And I understand why, but yeah, so it is better for sure.
When MTD came along, didn't they prevent us from changing the date though from memory? So I think that's where it became even more of a hot topic from what I remember.
It may have prevented it briefly. Certainly we've been able to do it recently, but it may have been at the beginning.
May have been a period, yeah. Charlie, what do you think though? I know you personally are very happy about this update.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, yes, exactly as Ash has just said. Of course, because you could change the date, you could go in and change it. And I always did that. To me, dating the journal as at the end of the quarter is pretty much crucial because it does a number of things. First of all, it's correct. The journal shouldn't be dated the day you happen to do it. It'd be like, running the payroll today for the 30th of September. If you're running, September payroll early and it dates the payroll on the 8th of September. Well, no, you're running the payroll for 30th of September. It should be dated then. Same with VAT. When you're running last quarter's VAT return, the journal should be dated at the end of the quarter. And the reason why it's so important is that if you then look at the VAT control account at the end of the quarter, just after you filed the return, the balance on the control account will be 0. And then you know that you can see that and you know it's correct and everything's cleared up to that date. Yep. If you go back into the VAT control account in 2 or 3 weeks' time, or any time before filing the next VAT return, you can go back and look at the balance on the VAT control account as at the end of the last quarter. If that is no longer 0, that tells you that you've entered additional items which will form the exception to the next VAT return. Now, if the journal was dated at a different date, you didn't have that ability to reconcile the VAT control account to your exceptions. Now, if you kept very tidy books, there won't be a difference. But of course, the advantage of reconciliation is that you can reconcile when there's a problem, and that prevented you from being able to fix or to find and fix that problem. So I think it's a huge deal they've done this, and I'm absolutely delighted they have.
Which is that the same with cash accounting? Because if I just look at it normally, it won't be unless you can run the detailed report on a cash basis.
Well, we now have that new report, don't we, where we can do that for us. But yeah, you're right, Ash. It it just made the reconciliation easier now, doesn't it? Because now we've
Yeah.
got the same date, so that's the way it works. And what about this?
Still a few things
Go for it.
on.
I'll just all I was going to say is about audit report. Like that is also a big change in my eyes. It just gives us, it makes it worthwhile. It makes it useful again. Brings us to parity to zero to some respect.
Well, I've not seen the new audit report yet, so what you just said was news to me, and I'm delighted to hear that too.
It's not new. It's the same audit report. It's always been. It's just now correct.
Okay, just include that. So here goes. So here's my view on the VAT audit report, and I think I may have mentioned this on previous podcasts, but I know Ash has got it. He's going to talk about Xero later on a different matter, but this is one area where I think Xero beats QuickBooks hands down. I think Xero's VAT report, and has been for many, many years, is excellent. And I really wish somebody at Intuit would look at the Xero VAT report and go, that's how we should produce a VAT report. And it wouldn't be difficult for them to do it. The data's all there. It's not asking Intuit to do anything different other than formatting the way the report is. Because the way that Xero does it, it's much, much more intuitive. It includes all the data. It first of all goes through all your sales, and then breaks them down. The 20%, what's a 20%, what's a 5%, what's a 0%, what's exempt, what's all the different NOVA, etc. And then does the same with purchases, and includes within that the exceptions as well, albeit they're separately identified. And it's a very, very much better written report. I mean, looking at this now, every page it's even formatted with different fonts. I mean, it's just a complete. It's like and some are portrait, some are landscape. It's absolute mess. It really is it provides the data we need, but it's so hard to read. It's awful.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm on the awful side. I definitely think there's definitely room for improvements there. And I know they give us that option now to make those amendments, so we could just go to our management reports and make amendments as we need to. But yeah, there's a slight gap between QuickBooks and Xero in terms of that. But at least now this report works. And I think that's the key point is we're not asking a client and telling them that their VAT bill's 1,500. We're going to be filing 1,700. It's ludicrous that it was ever out.
Where is it now showing it? Which page is now showing the exceptions?
Well, it used to be the fact that this VAT 100 report here would not include exceptions. Part of me, and I don't know what.
Showing us a total, it's not showing the breakdown like it does on.
Yeah, I was going to say I probably would prefer to see the breakdown if we can. I think that is a really powerful report to say this is what your VAT return for the period is, this is what exceptions is, this is the total. But previously it just was ignoring exceptions at all. But now that 17725 is including exceptions, so we know that's the right figure. It's just a case now that we need to I suppose you might want to just format it a little bit better if you do want to go through from there. But at the end of the day, now this is correct. We're actually telling the clients what their figure is going to be, and we're going to ask our clients to sign it based on that. Ash, what was your thoughts on the VAT audit report when it first came out, and what do you think it is like now?
Well, yeah, I agree. Yeah, it was. It just didn't tie into the VAT return, and not only the VAT, just the VAT audit report. So the VAT 100 report, I think, was the same, which is basically probably where it's pulling from. So when you just go to run the VAT, if you go to run the VAT report, it didn't actually tie to the VAT return. So hopefully the other, I'm sure that is coming from the VAT 100 within the audit report itself. So that is much, much better, because otherwise what you always have to do is basically make sure you print off the 3 or 4 reports that you need to make sure that everything ties in. Print them off, maybe export them into Excel if you're sending off somewhere. So these are the two combined, which give you what we're actually filing.
It's all too much work. The whole point of using a computer is it should do it for you. But
yeah, and we do have the option to amend this. So if I do bring up the right screen, let me just bring up the Chrome tab. It is all based on under your management reports, the VAT audit reports. So it does give us the option to go in here, edit as we need to, make a few adjustments, add some extra reports and stuff. So maybe like we've already mentioned about the cash accounting, maybe it is a good place to bring in those custom reports so you can see what those cash accounting elements still going to be. It gives us the chance to bring them in if we want to. which I think is all good really, and it kind of gives us that ability. Which from memory with Xero, I don't think we can amend the VAT audit report. I don't think we can. I think it is just what it is.
The only option it does give you, I mean, it's been years since I've looked at it, but it did give you the option to tick a box. Do you want to include exceptions or not? It could do that, and there was one other thing. Oh, I think you could, whether it's a detailed report or just a summary report. I think it gave you. I can't remember.
Yeah. Makes sense. Brilliant. All right. Well, that's great news for the VAT side of things. I did jokingly say at the time if they could manage to change that the date around to be the end of it, then they should put a statue of the person who does it, because that has been something that's been asked for a long time. I don't know if he's listening, but his name's Bill. He doesn't work at Intuit anymore. And I keep saying that his little contribution has been brilliant. So yeah, so fingers crossed. We keep seeing updates like that, small but very much exciting for us. Next news topic is the 12th of September. We've been sent email saying something big is coming. Anyone want to guess before we say what the news is, or if anyone want to actually say what the news is? Anyone guess what happened on the 12th? Ash, do you want to have a guess?
It's all a nice birthday cake or something.
Oh, I don't know. Is it anything to do with QuickBooks Advanced?
It certainly is, yes. QuickBooks Advanced is finally being released full and exactly how it's done, which I'm definitely happy about, but there are still a few bits that aren't quite ironed out yet. I don't know how you guys have been doing or if you've actually played with it yet in terms of having to play around with it. And there's still a few feedback elements I've definitely sent in and keeping on top of, but it's going to be a good thing that it's out, and hopefully some training as well, but we'll kind of TBC on that one. So you should have an email about the 12th of September and the big news that's coming. Big news is the fact that we have some advance going. Have either you two played around with advance yet?
I've not, to be honest. I've not really looked at it apart from quite a little while ago. I looked at the US version, and yeah, there's some nice things in there. I don't know whether it fully warrants the price. I'm slightly torn, really. As accounting firms offering QuickBooks, how is it going to pan out for a lot? And it's the same sort of principle with my app in some ways, is that I designed it for accounting firms. I have much more take up from an accountant in industry, so not in practice, the person that's doing the stuff every week, every month. So probably more take up for that product direct, I would have thought, because you think you've got an accounting firm that wants to sign up their clients on QuickBooks Advanced. They don't have to add many, and their monthly subscription is going to start going, well, okay, they can recharge that to the client, but it's still a difficult one. And in fact, I know I wasn't going to mention about going to scaling new heights, but one of the things I tended to pick up on from a few people there is that they were sort of actually getting away from trying to pay for subscriptions themselves as accounting firms and recharge them. They would rather actually, you're the client, you do what you want, you just pay for the subscription. I'll help you, but I don't want to really get involved with, buying all of these subscriptions and then paying out X amount. You just do what you want and I'll help you wherever I need to. And I can sort of get that, really.
Well, in the US, they've got the new revenue stream kind of sharing arrangement, haven't they? Where if you kind of quote unquote recommend QuickBooks and you push that on, you get to have a kind of a revenue sharing, however they do it over there. So you get a small tiny kickback for everyone that you've recommended. And that's probably what they're going for now, isn't it? More that sort of approach.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, doesn't it? I've got one more question about advanced to you in a minute, Ash. But Charlie, what's your take? Have you had a play around with it? Have you been able to utilize?
I've not had. I've had a look, but not a proper play around with it. I mean, the biggest issue, I've got some clients who've got lots and lots of users, and
Yeah.
if they had subscribed to QuickBooks themselves, they wouldn't have the ability to have more, because on QuickBooks Plus, QBO Plus, I think you're capped at, I think it's 5 users, whereas QBO Advanced is 25. But as many people may know or may not know, if the accountant has subscribed under the wholesale billing, then the number of users is unlimited. It has been in the UK for a long time, which was never the case in the US. In the US, even if it was on the accountant's wholesale billing, the user numbers were capped at the same as the end user subscribers.
Yeah.
So we've had that advantage since the beginning in the UK. I suspect in a year or two, when they start rolling out more features into advanced and maybe see how the granularity of the roles expand, which I think is something that actually could be quite interesting. A few bits and pieces like that, then it may be a bit more interesting for some of my clients. At the moment, it's not a need, and the cost is considerable.
Yeah. I know from our point of view, we have pushed it onto a few clients and almost upgraded them just out of a kind of goodwill almost, just so we can test it out ourselves, see how it goes. But yeah, you're right. It has been a very difficult sell at this point in time. And even the clients we've pushed it to, some of them probably aren't going to utilize most of the features there. There's just one or two that, make sense for us to bring on. Ash, there is one bit that I'd love to know from a kind of developer kind of hat on. Were you given kind of any warning or any kind of like elements to kind of make sure that your app was ready for advance or anything? Was there any kind of conversation your end that to say, look, you've got to make sure that your app can comply with this or that for advance? Or do you reckon it's just all the same?
No, we weren't. I do know that it does integrate, because we've had a couple of from the States, one or two advanced subscribers, and it does work. So from the day-to-day stuff, there's very little difference. There isn't from a developer's point of view, there isn't yet I'm pretty sure last time I checked, there wasn't like a sandbox company in advanced.
Okay.
So when I go into Intuit Developer and I create a QuickBooks account for testing, I usually get one for each country, each region, but you don't get a choice of what level it is. Everyone is just a plus version.
Yeah.
So there isn't an advanced one there, and there's no advanced API documentation that I've seen. Again, it might have been updated recently, but so no, not really. But for most people, with the connections they have, it shouldn't be affected.
Brilliant. And we're not expecting any software to stop working, are we? Like you said, there shouldn't be any reason why it should.
No, I think the only things like perhaps like custom fields, like additional fields that you don't get in Plus that you will get in advanced, then they're probably things that if we were using them at some point, would have to think, how do we try to connect across there?
But do you know if you have even access to that? Because from what I can tell, the app developers or from the API, they don't have access to any of these yet, do they? The new workflows or anything. That's all kind of quote unquote hidden from the developers, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
they don't really come through.
And maybe the same with the additional custom fields as well. Maybe they don't come through either. That could be one of the differences. Okay, fair enough. Right. Well, yeah. So I think we all know then that the 12th, that's what's coming. So let's see what happens going forward. Just a bit of a brief news as well. Intuit is planning on doing a investor day on the 29th of September. Now, if I look back at previous investor days, there's never been too much announced that have been earth-shattering. But there's an opportunity they could announce something. Maybe they're, announce they bought out NetTracker, for example. There's a possibility. But there is an opportunity for something to be announced there. So do keep your ears on to that one. Obviously, we'll talk about it in the next one that we do. One thing, though, that I was going to show was, if I can make this work. Yeah, that's working now. I want to ask you guys a question and see if you can tell which of these two logos is the new Intuit logo or not. It's a bit of a test for you both. Let's see how you get on. I'm saying this, but I can't actually share it. One second. That's the one. Okay, so hopefully you can see that is one of the logos, and then that's the other logo. So number one.
And the first one's the N is different, and the dots over the T's.
So which is the new one and which is the old one?
That's the new one.
That's the new one. Yeah, correct. Spot on. So yeah, Intuit, I think it was like 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, whatever they have now introduced a brand new logo, Intuit, with, like you said, without those dots on it. I think it looks nice, doesn't it? I think the dots were kind of getting a little bit older anyway, and a bit kind of dated. So
I like the other one.
Did you really? Do you really?
Yeah,
like,
because it was you and I between two people, wasn't it? One of the things that used to be part of the.
Yes. I suppose they are kind of two people there, possibly. I suppose maybe.
But they don't look like people with the dots away.
No, that is very true, isn't it? Yeah.
Dotting the I's and crossing the T's. The old one was dotting the T's. So that's
Brilliant. All right, so Intuit has a brand new logo ready to see. Another quick update here, and this could be just an example of what's going to happen in the future. But Intuit and or QuickBooks Online and Ignition, so the practice management solution software, have started to talk to one another more, and not just in terms of kind of normal day-to-day, but this is more US based. They started to look at more tax planning and proposal templates. So the idea would be, if you've completed your tax planning in Intuit QuickBooks, then in Ignition, you'll have the opportunity to come through and then be able to post those over. So it's a nice little update, that one. I wonder if that means that if they're looking to work closer with Ignition going forward. I suppose that's the only thing we can take from it. All these sort of connections are great and useful, but it's interesting to see why or what the reason is to choosing for Ignition. I don't think either of you use Ignition. Am I right, Charlie? Or no,
I don't.
I know you don't, Ash. Yeah.
Ignition was sold to somebody, wasn't it? Who bought Ignition?
Was it?
They still independent.
Independent? Last time I remember, they were independent, but maybe they have been sold.
Well, then maybe there's not. Maybe that's.
It was Accounting Manager who got sold recently.
Yes,
yeah, it could be that what you're thinking of. But either way, though, I mean, if they're starting to work closer with Ignition, we could always put rumors out there or speculate that maybe that's the next kind of logical step. Because if you think about what Sage have done lately and bought out really good software like Go Proposal and things like that, then maybe Intuit are looking to get some sort of practice management solution, because building it from the ground up is definitely probably not a wise endeavor at this point in time. So maybe there's a start of something we can all look forward to. So yeah, I thought that was just interesting, because very rarely do we get kind of integrations between ones like that at such a high level. It's very rarely that we get that sort of integration. And I wasn't even aware that their version of, I suppose it's TurboTax, isn't it, that goes in. I didn't know they could have integration and apps and everything that's all been free. Ash, over to you on give us all an update of what's happening in the world of Xero and apps, and try your best not to get too upset about it.
Controversial or political. Yeah. No, I won't. So basically, last year, in fact, so Intuit announced they were having a new app store, and you had to different ways you had to comply as an app provider to go onto the app store. So people that created a new app from August last year immediately had to use the new function. And they were phasing out over 12 months. So existing apps that were already on the existing apps website needed to basically change the way they were doing things. And then I had an email in sort of July, August to say, you need to get ready, you need to get things changed to go onto the new apps. And in a nutshell, in its simplest form, it means that an app provider pays a commission to Xero for the Xero customers that sign up. Now, in principle, I don't really have a huge problem with that. Business is business. People need to make money, and they think of other ways of getting revenue into their company. So yeah, I get that slightly begrudgingly. Now, that is fairly simple for a number of app providers. One that people that have just set up over the last 12 months, they've gone straight onto that platform. If they have one, so let's say you're not an accounting firm, you are a business owner, you want an app. So business owner has an app, signs up for the app, they have one subscription, they have one app, and that's it. If you are an accounting firm, you are signing up for an app, you might have multiple connections over multiple platforms. So if an accountant has a Xero account, they can create a Xero connection. They add one of their Xero clients. Later on, they'll add one of their QuickBooks clients. They might have Sage clients. Now they could have 100 clients. They might have 90 that are actually connected to QuickBooks. They could have 5 that are connected to Xero, 5 that are connected to Sage. As an app provider, where they are basically monitoring that subscription payment, I am paying them, or I could be paying them a percentage on that total subscription, regardless of how many are being connected through Xero. So immediately I'm thinking, this is not really fair. On top of that, in our position, we have our own billing system, our own subscription management, which means if a customer signs up, they have a free trial, and then automatically, when it gets to the end of that trial, do you want to continue using NetTracker? If yes, it starts creating an invoice, it starts collecting a payment through Stripe, it automatically marks that invoice as paid back in QuickBooks. Everything is absolutely automated to its nth degree, but I can't do that with the new Xero App Store unless we spend weeks rewriting our own billing system to integrate in another way. So I'm afraid, not saying forever, but at this point in time, we had to sort of step back and sort of say, we can't connect to Xero any longer because there's just too much work, not really fair pricing that we see for us. And we've got other better things to do at the moment. So that's how it is. So, they've got their business decisions. We are small fry, so it makes absolutely no difference to them whatsoever. But it's a shame because I've spent money advertising with Xero magazine and other things quite recently too. But it is what it is. And if one door closes, others open. So there's other things that we're looking to do. And as I mentioned before the break, I went to the Zoho conference and looked at Zoho books. Yeah. They don't have a fixed asset register at all, and they have very open API, and they were quite interested in perhaps creating an integration there. So you never know.
Yeah, I think when we first heard this news about this percentage and that this is coming in, I think we were trying to compare it, weren't we, to the likes of Apple and Google and those Play stores and those app stores, because they have a similar model, don't they? And rightly or wrongly, it's if you want to go on our store, you have to abide by all these rules and you have to jump through all these hoops, and we take this cut and we take that cut. I think the big difference to that is that, like, especially the Apple store, and the same with the Google one, is there's no other way for you to get an app onto your phone, you have to go through these stores, and they say it's for security, and they do a lot of promotions for you, and they push it and kind of keep everything all clean and tidy. And there's almost like you can kind of, as much as you don't like it, you can kind of accept that it's that or no way. With the Zero one, well, like you were saying, you were already selling Zero licenses outside, and you only know yourself what it is, but I can't imagine the Zero store itself has been the big boom for you that's brought in all your clients. I would imagine it's down to you, promoting and pushing and finding ways to get clients in through social media, through going to Zero accountancy, where accountant tax and account tax and all those sort of places. I can't imagine that the Zero store is this one place that is just the be all and end all to be, unless I'm wrong. But what's it been like for you on that one?
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right. I had a similar conversation with someone else yesterday where, usually, especially with apps, it's more word of mouth and people talking to other people that will probably think, oh, that's you need to try doing this. And I think there's something else I was going to say. It's gone completely out of my head. I'll come back to me in a minute.
Always.
No, it's gone. It's completely gone.
But what value do they give you for suddenly making this fee? I think that's where it's difficult to understand, isn't it? Where this suddenly garden wall of their app store, the Zero app store, there's no massive value to it, is there? Whereas again, Apple or Google.
I remember what I was going to say now, because it just comes back to me. I think it's because it sort of riles me in the back of my head. It's sort of go a bit blurred. One of the first conversations I had with someone from Zero, and these conversations have to be like about 11 o'clock at night, because the apps people that you're talking to are all in New Zealand. You've got nowhere in the UK to talk to. The first person that I spoke to said, we understand that when an app is integrated with Zero, it makes that customer much more sticky with Zero. Right. So we're helping you keep your customer, and now you're charging us for that. Let me just think about that. So now what you want to do is you understand, okay, that we're helping you keep your customer. Not only do you want to really tie your customer in, you really want to tie your app provider in. Because if I am basically organizing my billing and subscription through Zero, which is effectively what I need to do, it makes it really possibly difficult to service some of the other accounting providers unless I do it lots of things separately. So it could be that is their goal, is to really, which is nothing wrong with that, is to probably narrow down their app store, because they've probably got too many apps on there. And do they want apps on there that are really Zero focused, that really do everything that, for that Zero customer? So the things that we don't do, like for example, integrate or linking the tracking category, like we've got class and locations in QuickBooks Online. There's a tracking category in Zero, and it was on our roadmap to, have that as an additional feature, so the journals can be separated. But that's not something that we're going to bother doing for the foreseeable future, because there's time involved in that, and again, that's for the benefit of the Zero customer, that we are helping you keep. But no, if that Zero customer really wants that departmental reporting, perhaps that Zero customer needs to switch over to QuickBooks Online, where we can actually, we integrate with classes already. So the journals are class by class.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Charlie, when it comes to apps and everything else, when it comes to this argument that that maybe is valid, that maybe there is too many apps on the QuickBooks App Store, etc., etc. Maybe it's Zero's new approach is to cut the fat, isn't it, and turn it into there's only one or two or whatever the number is going to be, but there's only a handful of really quality apps, which I think Sage has kind of gone down that route with. But if that is the case, though, then as an accountant, like, I don't know about you, but a lot of my recommendations these days is based on, well, what are you using now? Oh, you're using this EPOS solution. Oh, you're using this e-commerce solution, right? Well, because you're using that, these are the accounting solutions that we would recommend X, Y, Z, and we'll go down there. That's kind of been the norm for a while now, hasn't it, Charlie?
Yes, I mean, certainly there will be some businesses for whom it's the third-party app that drives them into the accounting app. I agree, but I mean, I guess we don't know whether that's exactly what Xero want to do, whether they genuinely want to close it down. I wouldn't have a problem if they wanted to heavily promote a small group of apps and have the others sort of in the background. But I think it'd be very foolish of any accounting program to block other apps. I think the bigger the ecosystem, I mean, look how successful the iPhone became when Apple just had. I mean, they've got, I think by now literally millions of apps. But you know what app you want, you search for it, you find it in a couple of seconds, and you install it. So I would urge Xero and anybody else, allow any app that, obviously test it, make sure it's not going to destroy the data or anything, but allow the apps to connect. By all means, have a walled garden of protect, well, not necessarily walled garden, but a group of promoted apps that are easily seen, and the others that you go off and search, maybe a different page for the lesser known ones. But apart from anything else, a lesser known one today may develop a feature tomorrow that encourages other apps to develop those features, or just it raises the quality of all of the others. So I think it'd be a very retrograde step if it's an if that is what they're doing.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, isn't it? It's one I think we need to keep an eye on, because I think there's going to be a little bit of fallout for the smaller app developers at this rate, and that's just going to stifle the innovation, like you're saying. There's so much out there. There's so many apps at the moment that are popping up and doing good things, and we keep saying how great Cresco is and how wonderful that solution is. Well, they're now going to hurt by this as well. And is a payment platform as big as, or hopefully as big as Cresco is going to be, going to have to start dishing out their, all of their income based on it, just because they want to be on the Xero app store? It becomes crazy, doesn't it? So, Ash, any more final thoughts on that one before we move on, or have you got everything off your chest?
Yeah, no, I've got everything off my chest. I put it on LinkedIn, and the response was very, I'm quite heartened actually that I had a lot of positive response and support really from a lot of people. So I was quite pleased about that.
Good.
Yeah, and even like a large successful app like Go Proposal, they've had to do the same thing, and they actually commented that they've had to, and they've got a lot of developers, or well, certainly more than we have, because we've got one. And that's took them several weeks to work through, changing their processes to get it to work. So you sort of think, they've had to halt doing the things they want to do so that they can basically maintain what they've got at the moment on the Xero App Store. So
yeah, if the big boys are struggling, then like you said, there's just no chance for the smaller people like yourself, is there? It's as you've taken the right response, I think that everyone's agreed with, is at the moment you're just going to have to halt development, halt actual supporting Xero, and what the future holds is different, but at the moment in time, that's just the reality of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is a shame. We're coming close to time, so I'm going to fly through these ones. Three new kind of big, or three new newsworthy topics that I saw. First one is Sage has acquired another company, so they're still on their buying route. So this time they bought a company called Lockstep, which is all about automating their AR and the accounts receivable and accounts payable, and trying to bring that one in as a more kind of sustained product. They're continuing to kind of impress, aren't they, with the fact that they're building a nice little ecosystem over there that we've always said, like, Sage is that one where you kind of seem to be stuck. If you go in with Sage, then you're going to be in that ecosystem, but they're pretty much covering all all aspects now. So yeah, good on them. I think that's a nice little one. I never heard of Lockstep before, so but they seem to be doing good things on that one. Any comments on that? And are they looking to buy you, Ash? Is it, can we get there?
Not at the moment. But yeah, I saw that news as well. I've not actually looked into Lockstep. I know they're a US based company. They've got quite a few employees, and so they've been going around for some time.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight for Sage, isn't it? They are still on the back step a little bit, but if they keep acquiring things like they are, then yeah, at the end of the day, that's a solution to definitely get them back up the ranks again, doesn't it? This was an interesting one in my mind. So there was a bit of a survey done about which banks have done really, really well with small businesses, and the ones you expected was up there. So Starling was number 1, Monzo was number 2, and it was all the way down to, let me have a look at this, 6 for Santander, where you start to go on your quote unquote, high street banks, and you people like NatWest down to 8, Virgin Money all the way at the bottom, things like that. We kind of expected the challenger banks to be doing so well, but I didn't realize that they were absolutely dominating the small business market. Do you think this is a place where maybe QuickBooks is looking at this and going, actually, we should start putting a challenger bank together? What's everyone's thoughts on it?
Well, that's a big part of their function. Is interest pay, and they were going to bring it out. I thought it was late last year or beginning of this year, and then I don't think they postponed it. I think they cancelled it, is my understanding. But you may be right. They may consider bringing it back, or they could just do a very close integration with somebody. But it's not a surprise to me the challenger banks are doing so well in these surveys, because they provide a much better. So for the normal small business, if you're not looking for complex loans, if you're not looking for any hand holding, if you're not looking to investment advice, all that kind of stuff, you just want somewhere to deposit money and take it out again, and do that as quickly and as efficiently as possible. The challenger banks are so much better. You can open an account within days, in most cases, as long as there's nobody overseas or is a director of the company or anything like that. Then of course problems. But if it's all UK registered people or businesses, it's relatively simple to open an account. You don't have to wait 6 weeks for a dame to visit, to give you an appointment in store, which is insane to me, absolutely insane. If you go to HSBC or Lloyds or something, they'll give you an appointment to a month or more in the future. It's just ridiculous. So it's not a surprise, and I don't know whether Intuit will set up their own or partner with somebody, but we shall see.
Yeah, maybe I'm just wishful thinking on that one. I do know, though, that the challenger banks, that the reason they're doing so well is because they just keep thinking outside the box. I was still impressed with Tide. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Tide's got this solution where you can create a bank account and a company in the same application. The application literally takes 15 minutes to put together. It's approved within 5-10 minutes if you're lucky, and then maximum 24 hours it's all done and dusted. And you've literally created an account, a bank account that is, created a company, all through the same application. You're off to the races to start your own small business. And for people who are just doing pop-up shops, or they're, like Charlie was saying, the really smaller kind of company, there's nothing better out there for them in just getting it done, dusted. They're off to the races. Tide's even now got a solution where you can then be connected to an accountant there and then, and all this, that, and the other. And your high street banks just can't compete with that. So yeah, I think that there's always going to be those options and those abilities there. I was surprised not to see Revolut in this list. So I'm just looking at the list now. I know I haven't put it on screen, but Revolut doesn't make the top 15, which surprised me. That's one that I know is quite popular in our client base.
Yeah, funny you should mention Revolut, Aaron, because I saw a article, I don't know where it was, somewhere either on a LinkedIn post, where basically there was a firm of auditors that was slaughtering Revolut about some of their internal processes. So perhaps that's why they've not made that list, because they're dropping the ball somewhere, and are probably not keeping things as neat and tidy as they should.
Yeah, I think it was BDO, wasn't it, or someone like that. I think
it was a large firm.
Yeah, and they couldn't audit the bank figure, which is a bit of a worry, isn't it, if they can't get that bit right. But and Revolut was the module, and module was in, if we go by what we heard and the theories we heard, that was going to be the basis of what the QuickBooks Bank was going to be. So maybe this is the reason why that's all kind of fall apart. But yeah, we can only speculate at this point. But I thought that was an interesting conversation. The fact that, sorry about that, Charlie. What's that?
Did the German bank N26 make the grade in this list?
I've got Haydn's Bank. That's that one, isn't it? Is that the one? Is that the
N26 is a...
No, that's not made the list. No, Metro, funnily enough, got the list, which I personally I've had bad experiences with, but that's maybe. Yeah. Even the cooperative bank are up there, but I suppose that's more of a. I suppose that's more to do with the fact that they have the monopoly on charities, don't they? Because they gave out the freebies and stuff back in the day. Okay, fair enough. So it's interesting to keep an eye on that one. And then the final topic that we're thinking, just to close the thing, Coconut are the first one to tackle multiple properties. So Coconut is one of those software providers that I'm keeping a very close eye on with MTD. It's coming forward. I think they're a great little piece of software, but they're the first one to tackle this whole issue. And I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but when it comes to MTD, it's one of the biggest pain points that we're seeing is this whole idea that if you are, a rental, if you've got rental property, and if there's two of you having rental properties, then at the moment there's this bit of an issue in software where it seems like you're going to have two licenses. For example, if you're going to use QuickBooks as it stands at the moment, you would have to have two different licenses to submit the requirement to keep yourself going for MTD. It may not end up like that by the time we've gone through all the consultations and everything's all been set up. But as it stands at the moment, that's the solution that HMRC is saying, and the software provider is saying as well. At the moment, you can have two different ones, submit them independently, and you're off to the races. Coconut, though, are the first one to come out and say that they've found a solution where it is just one subscription, one solution, and you're going to get it submitted. I'm hoping that's kind of means that everyone else is going to follow suit and go with that. But yeah, it's interesting to see that Coconut were the first to get their head around that one. Any thoughts from Ira, you two?
Yeah, I likewise am keeping a close eye on Coconut. I've got an account with them for some clients. Haven't used it extensively yet, but had a little play around with it. It's a very nice system, particularly for those clients with too small to use a system like QuickBooks. And I suspect I got an email from them earlier this week to say that they launched this thing, which was very good news. I suspect it worked maybe a bit like a partnership tax return, in that you'll have the one set of numbers, one set of books, and then you say, okay, the partnership split is X% here, Y% there, Z% there, and it will then go off and fire that into HMRC using the separate UTR for each of those partners, or shares in a property, or whatever it is you're filing. So you can have partners in a partnership, in a non-LLP partnership. You can have people jointly owning property. It's great that they're the first to have launched that, and I have no doubt the others will follow suit. I mean, it would be ridiculous if
exactly
QuickBooks for a partnership or to put property in, and you've got to buy separate licenses.
And manually put the information from one to the other and all that sort of stuff. Which
how
is
would you do that?
exactly. Paul's brought up a really good point. Hammock, we love Hammock. Highly recommend Hammock. They're definitely in that same conversation. They've not said how they're going to tackle it, but obviously it's involved in their conversation at the moment that they know that's going to be a problem. I suppose we were waiting to see what HMRC are going to say about it, because it still makes me laugh. They're still, even at this kind of, we're so far into the MTD conversation now, but HMRC have only just realised that you could have a different accountant and different bookkeeper, and that could obviously cause some huge issues when it comes to dealing with MTD. Just is something as simple as 648.
There was something on Accounting Web, I think today or yesterday, I think Rebecca Cave, I think, had a meeting with HMRC. I mean, it's something I knew was coming anyway from HMRC, but just making it explicitly clear that you can have different pieces of software interacting with the same taxpayer's account. So you could have QuickBooks doing some type of accounting and Coconut doing something else and Even Zero doing something else, and then your accountant doing something else. You could all be using different pieces of software, but all interacting with the same MTD
Yeah.
account. Because that will, it's not too complex in that sense, because all the software will be both sending data to HMRC and receiving it back again.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a requirement, isn't there? People are going to have Hammock or Coconut for their rental, and then going to have the other bits for their self-employed, Zero, QuickBooks, whatever it's going to be. I can definitely see that being the issue. I think it was just the fact that HMRC was so dumbfounded by the idea that what do you mean you're going to have a different accountant and bookkeeper? What, they're not always going to be the same? So yeah, okay, right. How are you going to solve that one? So yeah, it's interesting, but we will see and keep an eye on that one. I think that's it. The only one I've got left here was any net tracker update you want to keep everyone involved in, Ash. I know you've had some really good updates in the last couple of months, haven't you? Do you want to shout out?
I was trying to think. Nothing in particular at the moment. No exciting news. No one's buying us or anything like that. We're making little updates all of the time. Still got loans on the back burner at the moment while we sort of tidy up some of our own internal admin updates. We're thinking of a new user interface. There's loads of little things going on that will just, gradually tidy up. So I'll give you one example that's we're started investigating, and that is the way that our calculations work. So at the moment, depreciation, well, actually everything is based on a fixed month. So you put it in and it will just give you a fixed monthly charge. However, what will be much more important, especially for deferred income, prepaid expenses, is actually a calculation on number of days. So that is our next thing, because obviously if you're prepaying a subscription from the 15th of a month to the 14th of 12 months time, you want that partial charge in a month. So that is our next focus. So we'd much rather focus on that than have zero integration at the moment. Much more important things to do. And all of these things will be, I feel, pretty important in a couple of years' time, if not more, if not before. So when it comes to preparing your management accounts and wanting them accurate, so HMRC may say, don't worry, just file your return every quarter and do a final adjustment. I strongly believe that if your final period 5 end of period submission is a lot different from your estimated tax, and from the first 4, you'll get an email. Why is your tax different? So you don't want your tax estimate to be different. You want your tax estimate to be accurate. That is my thought for the day.
Maybe not at the first couple of years.
Not maybe for the first year or so, but while it gets embedded, that will definitely be. It'd be like VAT.
Yeah.
You file a VAT return, and if it's vastly different on the next quarter,
why?
Why is it changed?
Yeah.
But otherwise, what is the point of making tax digital if they're not going to be checking it? There's no other. It would be pointless otherwise.
Yeah. Completely.
Disagree with that, I have to say.
What you disagree?
I disagree with you. Yeah, I've never seen MTD as about getting accurate data to HMRC 4 times a year. To me, it's about a long-term goal for what happens 10, 20 more years in the future of having the entire country digitally enabled for accounting. It's a very, very, very early first step towards that end goal. And as I understand it, it is simply about having all the data being digital enables so much more to happen in future. It enables people who are self-employed and using benefits and things to be able to interact back and forth. every business, eventually every person will have a digital account with HMRC or with GovUK. It's about just everything being integrated into the computers. And the only reason why they want you to file it quarterly is they don't want people to set this thing up and then just once a year do what they're doing at the moment and file it via a different platform. By submitting something, anything, no matter what, quarterly, you're proving to HMRC that you have a system and that you are doing something at least once a quarter. That is what I truly believe is the purpose of the moment. I really don't think it's about accurate data yet.
But that might be the start. But
I suppose we'll just agree to disagree on that one. Yeah. I think this is the start. 10 years time, people will be paying their corporation tax quarterly.
Yeah, and everything else. Yeah, and they're going to want accurate data, aren't they? And I think the difference is that the quality of the data should keep improving. So we should see that there's going to be better data to submit anyway. So I think, you know, in an ideal world from HMRC, we won't even need to have accountants and bookkeepers doing it. It's all going to be automated. It's all going to flow through, and it's going to be off. But they're still going to want it accurate, and then, you know, and items like this are going to be an important one. Nice little debate to end on there. So glad to, and thank you for that one. Charlie, how can people find you and everything else and all your social media and everything else? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So I can be found on Facebook. I've got a QuickBooks group on Facebook. So if you search for QBOA UK on Facebook, there's a group. Please join. If you want to join the group, just let me know whether you're an accountant in practice or not, and if you're a pro advisor or not, and just tick the box saying you agree to abide by all the rules, and then we'll let you in and join the debates that happen on that site. That's there's a lot of useful information on there for those of you who are good, regular QuickBooks users.
Agree, definitely. And Ash, you've already mentioned LinkedIn, but where else can people see you? And are you coming back to YouTube? I've seen some quality little bit of content lately. Is it full time?
Yeah, I've started to build up some videos really for the a bit of educational videos really on the use of NetTracker, but how you can provide for bad debts, monitor work in progress, because all of these little things, these adjustments that you want to get your consistency in your profit and loss without these big long journals at the end of the year. I do love a bit of consistency in the P&L. So you can catch those. If you actually go to the NetTracker website, www.nett-tracker.com, there's a link to the YouTube channel and other bits on there where you can have a take a look.
Love it. Absolutely love it. For me, it's QuickBooks Chap on the internet. You just type in the word and hopefully I appear. That's always been the aim. Hopefully that's what it is. I've got a lot of advanced content coming. I've got a lot of content coming through from that one, all in the pipeline and ready to go. And we've got some exciting new partnerships coming up as well with people like Zettel again and people like that. So yes, looking there. If it's not QuickBooks Chap, it's the Boffic. So either way, you can see us. And that is it. That is the end of the podcast for this particular month. Thank you very much for both of you of coming along, and hopefully Johann gets out of the HQ one day. Hopefully he's not there forever and not being held captive. Thanks for the questions, and if you listen via a podcast, don't forget to maybe follow us on Facebook so you come and join us live for a future episode. Get your questions in, ask questions, just like Paul and Julie have been doing throughout the chat today. Paul agrees with Charlie, and I'm sure Julie agrees with Ash. So yeah, we've got kind of we got
beer, Paul, next time I see you.
So with that then, we're going to be back at some point next week. I'm not going to say the dates anymore. We're just going to go for the first day of a particular month within the first week of a month. That's what we're aiming for. We'll get one out one way or another. We're not going to commit to any dates. We're going to push it forward, and one way or another we're there. So keep an eye on socials, and you'll be able to go from there. With that, then, it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Fantastic. Cheers, everybody. We will see you next week. Next month, should I say. Bye for now.